Dave Coulier is the head of the University of Arizona Journalism School. He's the past chair of SBJ's Freedom of Information Committee. Is that right? Close enough. And he's somebody who is so passionate about public records and FOIA and digging into things. By the time he's done talking, you're going to want FOIA your grandmother. I guarantee you.
If you don't, I will. So, wow, this is a great conference. I haven't been here before, but I love it. In fact, I'm going to go back to Tucson and start my own news website. It's going to be the Tucson Citizen. So, anyway, there's a backstory. So, I'm going to rip through this because we're trying to make up time. And so, to do so, I provided all this stuff in handouts. And I have a handout here that's Dylan has. It'll be on the table. It has all the URLs. You don't have to write stuff down, whatever. It's all in there. In addition, I have a handout that's 40-some pages that's online that I'll give you the URL for, as well as another handout on suing pro se for public records, suing yourself if you can't afford an attorney, along with sample claims. And all of that is there, so you can go there to the Google Drive and download those PDFs, about 50 pages. That way I don't have to go into detail. You can just get it, download it. Makes for great Christmas holiday gifts. You know, just wrap them up and put a bow on them. So right there, you can get it all there. And I'll be hanging around today and tomorrow, so if you want to talk details, feel free to talk to me. So why are we talking about this today? Because of what we just heard in these previous sessions. This matters to our communities. The Ron Burgundys of the world and the people, the newspapers, aren't doing this anymore as much. Research shows they're not going after government information, data and records. Their companies are not suing for public records. And public agencies know this. They know that there are not people watching. And we need people to watch. We need people to get this information and put it out there for the public so that they can better self-govern and they can look out for their communities. That's all of you. So what you're doing is a noble, important, critical part of democracy. And it's fun. Dylan, he has lots of fun with this. So that's what this is all about. And I hope perhaps it's so valuable that you can make money off it too, which I think you can. Anybody here make money off government data they collect, restaurant inspections, criminal data, bad nursing homes, salaries of local government employees? All that's really valuable stuff that people want to see. So what I'm just going to mention, again, breeze through here, are just some steps, because what I've noticed is a lot of people are unsure of how to do this, and they are a little intimidated by it. Now, how many of you in your news websites, I know a lot of you are former journalists, but how many of you news websites have requested government records? Raise your hand. All right, great. How many of you have been denied public records? Raise your hand. All the same hands, yeah? And how many of you ran up against a wall to where the only way you could get it was to sue? Raise your hand. Right, that's where we end up most of the time. And that's where we feel like we can't do anything, we're powerless. Well, that's what I want to change, because we have power. First thing, identify what you want. And there are a lot of great tools to do that. For example, FOIA Mapper is this new website that has all sorts of ways of searching what records are out there at the federal level that could apply to your communities. Muckrock is an organization out of Boston that's collected thousands and thousands of records through its community requesters, and you can actually get help from Muckrock in submitting your requests and tracking them and going after them. Muckrock is a great resource, particularly for citizens and community requesters. NICAR and IRE, Investigative Reporters and Editors, has great data that you can buy from them for cheap, $50, $25, a data set relevant to your state or community, and they have a list of all sorts of data sets you can get. They've already got them, they've cleaned it up, and they can help you use them. It's cheap and easy. As well as great ideas on the IRE website. I highly encourage you to become a member if you haven't and tap into the huge resources they have. I would request from my government agencies all the FOIA requests or all the public records requests. You'll get logs that show what other people have gotten. Maybe you'll see something that will interest you or your readers. Just go ahead and request it. They've already given it out once. They're going to give it to you. So, and as you notice, you get some weird things like John Kerry for president. Now, how do you do this? Okay, we saw earlier that you have to now set aside 8.5 hours a week for raising money, right? Advertising. Well, I'm asking you to set 1 hour a week aside for this. And this is what I did as a reporter at a newspaper. I just set aside 1 hour a week on Fridays when I came in. And I had a little sticky note on my terminal just to remind me, okay, I'm coming in, I'm not checking emails, not doing any of this. I'm just going to submit a public records request, every Friday. I'm going to check up on my public records requests. And as a result, what do you know? I had more than 52 public records requests by the end of the year. And if only half of those resulted in awesome data sets or records, that's 26 great databases for your website or records that'll yield amazing stories for your community. So, but it has to be, to use the other word, intentional. You have to be intentional about this. If you don't, it's not going to happen. So that is critical. You have to strategize and integrate this into the work week. Second, know the law. And there are lots of resources for this. The Reporters Committee for Freedom of the Press has legal guides for every state. Every state, you can click on it, has open records laws. They have federal guides to FOIA. It's all there that you can tap into. Not to mention resources at your state level. Most states have a coalition for open government that has resources. A lot of states have press associations or attorney general's offices, legal guides. Make sure to get those, refer to them. The law is not that hard. You'll actually become more adept at the law than the city attorneys. And I know this because my dad's a city attorney and he calls me all the time. And he's like, this person wants this record. Should I give it out? And he's smart. He's a smart guy, but government attorneys, they don't teach this in law school and they don't deal with this day to day. So we do. Number 3. Put in your records order. Now, most people say records request, and I hate that word because this is what request means, right? This is what order means. So, request, order, and it is a state of mind. They work for us. The government works for us. We are in charge. And when they put labels that, we have to request information that we already paid for, by the way, that we're entitled to see so that we know what's going on, we should not have to request it. May I have more, sir? More? Yeah, request. That's why I urge people to call it a public records order. Just like you would order up a sandwich at a restaurant. You would order up a library book. I'd like to place an order for a new printer. I'd like to order online on Amazon. I want to order these records. I have these records I want. I'd like to put in an order for them. Thank you. Order. So that's just a state of mind thing. All right. Not that. That. Okay, onward. So when you put in this public records order, it's really simple. And you don't even need to have a law degree. In fact, here, there's a couple online order letter generators. Here's one the Student Press Law Center has online. It's really simple. You just put your name in there. Here, just a second here. All right, so you put your name and your address and your phone number and what you're looking for. I request access to, or I'd change it, I order access to and a copy of your mama. All right. Let's see here. You pick your state that you're in. So wherever, Colorado. You put in who you're sending it to, Mayor Bubba, et cetera, et cetera. You say, look, if it's going to cost more than $5 and copy fees, let me know before you do it. And then you just hit this little button, create letter, boom, there's the letter, all written. What? Can you read that? It shows up okay on this. Huh. Oh, interesting. Well, you would, if you could see this, see a nice letter that has all the language, has the statutory citations, has everything you need. Definitely worth doing. All right, so now there's one thing with this is the last paragraph of this particular one says this. I'd note the willful violation of the open records law can result in a fine payable to me of up to $100 for each that I'm denied access. This is in Washington State, by the way. Litigation costs, including reasonable attorney fees, may also be rewarded. Motherfucker. So, it's a little harsh, so you may tailor it depending on your community. It is good to develop professional working relationships with your local clerks and city halls and that sort of thing, especially in your small community. But it depends. You know, some of these are effective. I ran an experiment to find out what's more effective, a nice letter, a neutral letter, or a legalistic letter like this. And I did this experiment all through police agencies and school districts, sent out randomized letters and tracked responses. One letter worked out far better, and I predicted it would be the nice letter, and I put in all sorts of psychological tricks that I learned in research, methods of persuasion, Jedi mind tricks. You will give me the record. And I really thought that was going to work, but lo and behold, this letter worked far better in every respect. Faster response, more complete response, lower copy fees, treated better. In all categories, this letter works best. So, whatever. Sometimes it takes a little bit of a stick. Track your requests. You know, you could do it in Excel. Track all your communications with people. I just did it on a notebook. I just keep a page in a notebook and keep track of everything. That's handy if you go to court later. You may track it virtually. There's some cool new online free trackers. FOIA by the Reporters Committee for Freedom of the Press. There's the FOIA machine. Again, all these are in your handouts. And they can help you send out your requests, track it, keep follow up, and even do appeals. Step 4, overcome roadblocks. No doubt you will be denied public records. The research shows that. In an analysis I did of access audits, this is the percentage of response when agencies come through. So in general, if you ask for city council minutes, 93% of the time you're going to get them. I don't know what 7% of agencies would deny those to anyone, but that's pretty decent. But you go down the list, and only 29% of the time you ask for a police crime log will you get it in this country, on average. That is not good. That is not good. Almost 3/4 of the time, police will illegally deny you information you're entitled to. That is bad, breaking the law. So you might have to appeal. You might have to write a letter saying, hey, I hope you reconsider your ill-advised decision to deny this information to my community. And 1/3 of the time, an appeal will cut it loose. 1/3 of the time, you will get what you want just by a simple letter. And they're easy, and at the federal level, there are appeal letters available online. You can go, and all the verbiage is there.
But sometimes that's not going to be enough. So you may have to go ask an expert. Make sure that you're right. You know, I've messed up a lot in my career. I've pounded my shoe on the desk saying, I demand this record, you have to give it, and then learn that I was wrong later. There was an exemption in the law that said that they didn't have to give it to me. So you don't want to eat crow and look stupid. And so ask an expert. There's always experts in your state or at the federal level that can help you out. And they're all in the handouts that I've provided as well. You might provide the Attorney General Guide to Public Records in your state to the agency, or the League of Cities and Towns Guide to Public Records. Get help from allies. We're here to help. At lunch, I was on the phone with a reporter who was having a hard time getting autopsy records, and she's just writing a story about it, and I give good quote, so she was just needing a good quote of me, you know, saying it's un-American, and they're like Saddam Hussein, and the commies would only deny that, and et cetera, et cetera. And journalists appreciate having a professor saying something like that. You may have to take off the gloves. You may have to go a little harder. You know, go up the chain. If the police chief denies you, go to the city manager. If the city manager says no, go to the city council members and call each one up and say, why are you guys hiding this? I don't get it. All our people want to know. Put the pressure on. Go up the ladder. Report it. Report it. A lot of people say it's inside baseball. No, when they say no to you, they're saying no to your whole community. Tell your community. It is not inside baseball. Democracy is not inside baseball. So tell everyone, report it. Put in an order for all the emails about your order. So I would put in an order. I was going to say request because it's still in my brain too. And it freaks them out because all of a sudden they realize, oh boy, that email I sent saying, who is this bozo bothering us? Just make something up. Get rid of him or her, you know. And you will get emails like that. That's kind of fun. Bury them. You know, I go, look, I don't get it. Why would you deny this basic information? This isn't personal, but I've got to figure if you, by the way, I do the whole Columbo thing a lot, you know, I don't get it. So here's 30 more records requests. I got to assume you're hiding stuff. Have fun with that. And you make it so hard for them to say no to you that they start saying yes. They just say, just get rid of this person. They are tenacious. They will not give up, and they're not going away. So it's not being a jerk. It's being a steward of the public's information in your community. Heads on pikes. I create a little list of all the agencies in my state who have denied public records wrongfully, been sued and lost. So I just keep a running list. And in Arizona, we have a lot of them, particularly Joe Arpaio, the sheriff. And he's sued all the time for the same thing, and he loses, and the taxpayers end up paying $40,000 to $80,000 in lawyer fees. And I just say, look at all these jurisdictions that said no. Do you want to be added to my list of losers? You know, really? Is that, do you want to look like these folks? Look what they did? No, you're better than that. I don't get that. Put the public pressures on. On your website, have a little clock, a little ticker, you know, seconds of secrecy, every second that they are hiding this from the public. Have a little link explaining the information that they're hiding. You know, talk to people, average people, whatever. This has been very effective. I've used this before, and it's really good. And then you may need to release the hounds. Get some attorney to write a letter. That can kick it loose right away. All of these are psychological techniques. It's what I research. It's part of my job. And it's in this book, a cheap plug, but it's the only book out there on this, The Art of Access Strategies for Acquiring Public Records. It's online. it was 2010. We're updating it right now because we have this one section in there about building your confidence, and it's called Be the Donald. And so we're taking that out. So if you do buy this, and I hope you do, you could just rip that page out if you want. There's nothing political. At the time, it sounded good. Step 5, sometimes you're just going to have to sue. Sometimes you're going to hit up against agencies. Is this too soon? Anyone from Gawker here, formerly of Gawker? Yeah, which is a whole nother session. What videos not to put on your website? But that's not what we're talking about in this session. Warning, this is not legal advice. I am not an attorney. I'm not licensed attorney, but I have run through this with attorneys and media law attorneys. And I was inspired by this fellow here, Jorge Rojas. He's a student at Arizona State University. And despite that, he's really smart. And because I'm from University of Arizona. And he was really mad last year at the FAA because he wanted to find out how are we doing on time, Dylan? Okay, I'm getting close to the end. Oh, okay, yeah. And I'll be here all week, folks. Yeah, so, at the cabana. So, anyway, Jorge, he tried to get licensed as an air traffic controller. He's a senior at ASU in air traffic control, which I didn't even know was a major, but apparently it is. And so he filed FOIA requests with the FAA to find out their licensing procedures for diversity. And they said, no, they ignored him. He sued on his own. He just Googled FOIA lawsuit because he's a college student. He went to Wikipedia right away. And he finds these sample lawsuits that other people had FOIA'd, and like a college student, he just copied and pasted it, and then he kind of tweaked it, and his name and some other things, and he paid the $400 filing fee. And yeah, he works $10 an hour in a lab, and he saved up his money and went to the U.S. District Courthouse and filed this claim on his own. And he won on summary judgment. The judge just gave it to him right away and gave him his fees back. And so then he got emboldened. He got the records, which indeed showed there was bad hiring practices against minorities, which got some news coverage. And he filed 4 more FOIA requests. I mean, hundreds of FOIA requests, 4 more lawsuits, which are almost being decided now. A kid, if he could do it, if an ASU student can do it, anybody can do it. So, no offense if you went to Arizona State. It's a fine school, it's a good program, all that. I respect them. But that's the point. Anybody can do this. So, how do you do this? It's in the handout. I'm not going to go through all the details, but you can sue your local government if you want. First, get to know the court a little bit. Go down to the courthouse. Find out what the rules are. If it's a federal case, federal FOIA, look up the federal rules of civil procedure. If it's local, look up your local court, that sort of thing. Just go and ask the clerk down there at the courthouse. They're really helpful. They'll help you walk through the steps. They won't give you legal advice, but they're usually pretty friendly. Apply for money. There's money to help you. The National Freedom of Information Coalition, which is having its conference in D.C. next weekend, they give out money to cover your court fees, costs. So you can apply. It's a real simple letter. Just apply, and if it's a good case, they'll just say, sure, here's some money for your filing costs. In addition to that, the Society of Professional Journalists has a legal defense fund, which will pay for attorney fees. The NFOIC account won't pay for attorney fees, but you can get some help. Apply, $5,000 right off the top. The LDF committee can approve. I was on it a long time. And it's really simple, and hardly anybody applies. There's money sitting there to be had. We gave out $30,000, $40,000 to Josh Wolf, the blogger. It's not just the legacy media that we help out. So, even $5,000 would be good to sit down with an attorney and maybe consult before you consider litigation, which might be smart. Might save yourself a lot of time and hassle, not set bad case law. 3, just write the complaint in the summons. Get the forms, write it out, sample complaints in your, FOIA complaints in your packet. You can go to the court and they'll give you a sample pro se complaint for civil court in your courthouse. Take those documents, deliver them to the courthouse. Pay the fee. Jesus, what's so funny? I don't know. Serve the agency. Serve the agency. You have to pay someone to serve it. You can't serve them yourself. It's notifying them that they're being sued. So that's one of the steps in the process. Not hard. Wait, that'll happen, because those attorneys are going to have to do their thing. You're going to go back and forth, perhaps. There's going to be different motions. They're going to have it trying to throw it out of court. This is if they don't cave right away. A lot of the times, as soon as you file suit, they just give it to you. They just cave right away because they know that that's how it works. But maybe they'll dig in their heels and they'll try to get it kicked out of summary judgment. You'll reply. All that's in the handouts. Maybe it might get to oral arguments where you have to show up at the courthouse and explain yourself, and they explain, no biggie. And then you win, which is fun. And you ask for your fees back if you didn't get them from the get-go. And that's not too hard to do either. You win, tout your victory. Shout it wide and all over your area, because you want to set an example. That's what this is all about. And as soon as everyone knows that you can't be dinked around with, then when you go ask for public records, you will get them. And so, and if you threaten litigation, you'll really get them. So there it is, folks. Be the mean cat, lion thing, and know that this is important. It's important for your readers, your community, and I hope you well in your quest. Thank you.
We've got time for just a few questions. First, make sure it's on.
Okay.
First, show of hands. Who wants to FOIA your grandma now? I told you. One quick thing on the friendly request versus the nasty gram with all the legalese. Yeah, I'm going to sue you. It's going to cost you millions of dollars if you say no. Mm-hmm. A lot of times, that can just provide easy bureaucratic cover for the person who would probably gladly give you these documents, but they're going to get yelled at if they do. And they can just say, well, look, he threatened to sue me and you. It would have caused, it can be just as good for them. In fact, sometimes we get asked for those things. Please send me a nasty gram.
That's a great point, Dylan. And we do have to remember, they're not all evil. They don't come to work with horns and cloven hooves. These are people. These are human. They're good people. For the most part, people in government are doing their best. So a lot of the folks on the front lines want to give it out, but they can't because of political pressure or whatnot. So it's important to treat people with respect and always and never lose our cool. And sometimes just pushing hard is all they need. That's a really good point.
I saw a few hands.
Oh, yeah, sure, the link. Now you want to see my handouts. I'm joking. It's the ones over there. Let me see here. And then the others are right there. I hope they can access them. Were you able to access them? Okay, cool. They're all in one document. I just merged them all in one PDF.
So Alice Strager, East Lansing Info, we use a citizen journalism model. Just two quick suggestions. One is that when you FOIA records, specify text messages between people, because often the FOIA clerks will pretend that didn't occur to them. And the second suggestion is if you use anything like a citizen journalism model, or even if you don't, teach the people in your town to FOIA. So we've done that, and that we sometimes help them write the letters. That takes a step away from us, because then they're tracking it, they're doing it. And then we tell them, if you get back stuff and you're not sure what to do with it, come back to us and we'll help report it. But it does mean you can sort of cause a whole town to start FOIAing, which creates a very useful model, although quickly the government stops putting anything in writing. But it works really well to activate the town in terms of demanding transparency. It creates a town that expects transparency.
That is so good. And time into National Sunshine Week, which is mid-March. So if you do a project, have folks do an audit of folks all in your county agencies, and that's a great news peg to hang that project on that you get everybody involved with. That's an excellent idea. And by the way, with text messages, you're absolutely right, and emails. In almost every jurisdiction in this country, those are considered subject to public records laws. And a lot of government...
Facebook chat messages.
Yeah,
and,
even social media, when government officials are communicating government business, they are subject to public records laws. Even their personal Yahoo accounts, if they're doing government business, subject to public record laws. Hillary Clinton found that out, yeah? So definitely ask for that type of stuff. They'll freak out, they may balk, but...
Dave, great job. I'm Norberto Santana with Voice of OC from Orange County, California. We have I'm curious, two questions. Whenever we start doing lots of records requests, inevitably we'll always get the city clerk or the mayor of the town that goes, this news agency are, terrorists. I mean, they're making us spend tons of money on all these BS public records requests, and it's just horrible. I've had all kinds of experiences where you have like the editor come back at you, and say, geez, are you being problematic? I mean, are you being too of a nuisance? Sometimes you have people in the public that'll go, yeah, geez, you're wasting public money with, and I'm just curious, what is your sense? I'm sure you've gotten that before, of just what's your advice of just when you're in that, when they try to make it you. I mean, we have one public record lawsuit where they're asking to depose me. And it has nothing to do with whether this record is legal or not, but it's just all about intimidating you and coming at you and making you the bad guy. So I'm just curious, whenever you deal with that, is that just swallow it and just keep doing what you're doing? Or?
Oh, absolutely. But yeah, they will go after you, and slap suits are becoming more common. There's a University of Kentucky just sued its own college paper to stop a public records request order. So yeah, it's getting nasty out there, and definitely you hear that. And I do sympathize with small agencies when they get a request. They don't have a lot of staff, and so usually I try to sympathize, because clearly there's no exemption in any public records law for I'm too busy. There's not there. You can look in the law, and it's not there. So I'm like, I'm sorry, and I know this is a problem, Marge, but, we got to do this for the people, and help me help you. Help me help you. Okay, let's narrow the request to what I need. Let's put in an installment plan. Do this first, and then this next month, and this next month's. Let's stagger this so it works for everyone. I'll come in and I'll do it for you. I'll ruffle through and photocopy. See, I'm helpful. So, but ultimately, they have to do it. It's the law, and it's the right thing.
You almost hit some of my question there, but in my city and in all of Massachusetts, I am beginning to get the sense that they are adding expense to the request because they don't really turn down the request. They just charge a lot for it. So is that a known thing that municipalities and governments do, and how do you get around that?
That's a really good point. The way that agencies are getting around this are they're jacking up copy fees, and in particularly search fees. They're saying you need to pay $200 an hour for this clerk who's paying $10 an hour to do their work. And this is one of the top 3 problems that we see. So in the handouts, if you look, you're going to see a page exactly on how to eliminate or reduce your copy fees. There are ways of getting around that. And it varies by state. Some states have pretty good law. They can only charge the actual cost of a photocopy, which is 1.5 cents a page, give or take. So anytime they want to charge me a lot for a page, I show them the breakdown, and it's only 1.5 cents, and I say, I'm a nice guy, I'll give you 2 cents a page, and you get a nice profit margin, and they just give up with me and just, here's the records, just go away. But again, wearing them down. The problem is when they start charging search fees and redaction fees for the lawyer to go through and redact. That's where it gets messy, and a lot of states allow for that. And that's where we're running into a lot of problems nationally. And we just have to change the laws or negotiate something more reasonable.
3 quick things. You talked about the installment plan, which is along the lines of one of my questions, had to do with, I have found it's better to submit multiple records requests that are very specific for this document and a separate one for that document. There might be 10 documents I'm looking for, but I'm going to send them 10 records requests rather than one where there's one document that somehow they have a hard time finding, and then in Florida, by the way, Dale Fenwick, theapopkavoice.com, Orange County, Florida. In Florida, they have a, quote, reasonable time, which interestingly enough, one of the cities, Clearwater was it, tried to pass an ordinance that said that they had to respond within 2 days, and they ended up not passing that because that was deemed too long under certain circumstances. So, but reasonable is unfortunately not well defined. The other thing on the costs, our records requests basically say we want to review these records. Generally, we find it's easier for the city government to just send us the PDF, and that's what they do. But if it comes up to be a long document, in fact, I sometimes have to follow up and say, what's the status? And he said, well, I sent that to you 2 weeks ago. I said, I don't have it. I'll send it again. I wait, doesn't happen. I said, I don't get it. Where is it? It turns out it was a 41 megabyte PDF. Okay. And it's like, okay. And so finally he had to put it into a Dropbox and let me come and get it. But he was going to say, we'll copy it for you. It's going to cost X amount. I said, no, I'll come down and look at it. I mean, the city hall is only 5 blocks from my office, so it's easy for me. And then the last one, and the most serious one, Florida has this issue going on right now with what are perceived to be an abundance of frivolous records requests and lawsuits being filed very quickly by people who are really trying to essentially game the system, I think. I don't know I don't know what's in their hearts, but the sense is file a request, it's going to be complicated. They're not going to be able to do it in a reasonable time, so you can now file a lawsuit and the lawyer's going to make money. I don't know if that's going on anywhere else. That's my question.
There are a few states that have punitive measures. You know, Florida's one, Washington State's another. A few states where if you substantially prevail in court, then they have to pay, say, up to $100 per day that they didn't respond. So in Florida in particular, there are some folks running around doing this just to make money. It's probably, not cool, and there's a little bit of a backlash against it. On the other hand, if it makes these agencies work harder and more responsive to the public, I don't have a problem. But we don't want to abuse our power either. We're doing this for good reasons, not necessarily to make a lot of money. Anybody here to make a ton of money here? Is that what you're in it for? No, I don't think so. We're in it for a good cause.
I think we've got time for one more question back there.
David, probably the number one public record request right now is body cams of police officers. And we know police don't like to give up information on anything. And now with body cams, we've gone to a whole different level. And I see a patchwork of laws across the United States that are all different. Is there any way you think we could get a unified approach to this? Because in North Carolina, their law is about to change, which is going to prevent them from fully releasing the video that they're dealing with. In Arizona, we fought successfully to keep them as a public record without restrictions. We just can't seem to get consensus from these departments as to how to release these.
Yeah.
And whether or not they're public records, for that matter.
Well, that's a really good question, and it varies by state. In fact, there is a website out there where you can look at how your state handles it. It's actually at the Reporters Committee website. I'm going to do this, and I don't see any way it's going to be standardized because that's just how the states work, and every state has its own thing. But we can work and fight to make sure that our states do show up and with good laws. And so go to this website and check out your state and even your community, because a lot of states are leaving up to individual police departments to come up with their own policies. And so take a look and see what's going on in your area and push back if it's restrictive. Don't allow this to happen. There are a lot of bogus arguments for keeping this information secret, mainly to protect misconduct. And, that's just not cool. And so it's up to us to push back. What you're doing is God's work. It's really important, and because the legacy media are really not pushing as hard as they used to, and kind of dropping the ball. So I'm just really pleased with what you all are doing, and I'm humbled by being in your presence, frankly.
Thank you very much, Dave. Appreciate it.
Keep it up.
We are going to take a brief coffee break before we have the breakout sessions, more focused discussions. Those will be in the 3 classrooms that are right off the hallway over here.